Today's episode, I have my lovely friend Eve, and she is here to share some of her story. And an interesting element to your story is that it motivated you to kind of go after this legal side of things, which I love for you.
Definitely. I had a lot to do with, pursuing going into the legal field. So a lot of people just see the outcome. You were able to do this, that's awesome. But I don't think enough people know the battles that you face during the whole process of whether it's like a divorce or anything with custody. Honestly, anything legal. I don't think people actually like when they have a win or somebody has a win, they don't think like, okay, what did it take to get there?
Exactly.
Or like there was just so much. There's it's not just like, oh, I filed this and yay.
It's done.
You know what I mean? It's done. Like, no, there was anxiety, sleepless nights, like waking up, throwing up, just thinking about the whole situation. Like, it's very stressful.
Yeah.
So, to get through it and then like make it to the other side, like
There's so much more that goes into it.
So much more. And it's overwhelming, like to think of all the emotions, honestly, that played a part in the whole journey.
Yeah.
I guess I just kind of like go into like what, made me want
the why.
The why. The why. So the why. I was 19 when I left an abusive marriage, and was not easy. It was one of the hardest decisions I've ever had to make. And
especially at 19.
Yeah,
that's
I was a kid.
Crazy.
I was a kid. I had a lot of growing up to do, but it was a decision that I had to make for myself, and especially for, my kids at the end of the day. Like, I knew that decision was going to make or break their future and mine. He was just a very high conflict co-parent. It was inevitable that we were going to end up in a courtroom. Yeah. Like, the divorce was not going to be smooth at all. It was very difficult. There was a point in time where trying to be the adult in the situation and meet in the middle all the time, like, there was a point where, I was like, let's just meet up for my son's birthday. He was 4. He didn't want to go, but, I was trying to be like, hey, like, maybe we should spend some time with him on your day too. Like, I'm not thinking, like, I was trying to spare him his feelings. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't want his feelings to get hurt. And then he would automatically think, well, it's because you, yada, yada. Gets there, meets me. I'm putting kids in the car, forgot the car seat. So I run back inside. And then when I run outside with the car seat, he takes off with the kids. So my thing is, when you're dealing with a high conflict parent, especially when they were your abuser, and they know that they cannot hurt you, 90% of the time they're going to use your kids. Yeah. But whatever hurts you, they're going to use. That was his tactic. He took them because he knew that he could not physically hurt me. So he's like, how else can I go about this? So.
Did you ever think prior to that he would have ever done that?
I would have never thought that he would do that, just because during our marriage, I never hurt him. Like, I didn't cheat, and I wasn't a bad wife. Like, I was the one that I was the wife that was pregnant, waking up at 5 a.m. to make burritos. Yeah. Like, and then get home from work, your clothes is ready on the bed for you to shower. Yeah. Like, I did almost everything possible. Like, I wanted, as a little girl, I wanted to have my own family and be a good wife and a good mom. That's what I always wanted. Definitely did not see that coming. My mom did, though. So she kind of warned me, and I wish I would have listened to her. About 6 months went by. Like, literally after he took them, I ran to the street. I cried. Like, I called and called. I remember just being in the street calling over and over again, and then just crying like like he really just did that, and it was very unbelievable to me. But he finally answered and was like, I'm gonna bring him back, yada yada yada. So I was like, okay. And then it was like, well, I'm not bringing them back anymore. It was like he was using them like a toy. Like he just really, he was really toying with my emotion. Within those months that he hid them, like I remember I used to post looking for them, like, if you see them, let me know. I went to his mom's with an officer, like they helped him, like and his spouse at that time, she helped also. And to think back on it, it's just so crazy, like, just to think somebody would actually do that is wild.
I think that's a mom's like worst fear.
It is. I didn't, like, after so many years, I didn't get why I was being done dirty. Not only that, but it was like the kids, like it's hurting them at the end of the day. The amount of trauma, like, first of all, you already ruined your marriage. Now it's like more trauma, like added, like, oh, that's beautiful. Now I'm gonna have to fix that too. You know. So within the 6 months, it was like changing cars, because I sure did go to his job. And his vehicle was no longer there, so I know he switched his vehicle. It was moving houses, like not living at his mom's anymore. I don't know, like I didn't know where he was staying for a while. And the more I looked, or like I would post, like, somebody let me know something. And I know a lot of people would be like, well, isn't that kidnapping? But it's not when you're married. When you're still married to that person still has the same rights that you do. So you know, they couldn't do much for me. And like the officers, whenever I called and I spoke with them, they couldn't really do much for me. But also it was like I did not have a lot of support here in Midland, because my family at that time lived in Pennsylvania. So I did not really have anyone to lean on or anything like that. There was like times I would get phone calls just randomly, like, stop looking, you're never gonna find us, and then laughing.
So demented, like,
like, you're never gonna find us. And I was like, I'm not looking for you, I don't give a shit about you, like, it's, you know, my kids, like, where did you take them, like, where are they, like, all they were used to was me. So, like, as a mom, like, that hurt, knowing that they're probably asking, wondering, you know, like, and for them to ever think, like, I just abandoned them, that was so painful. 6 months is a long time. And I had talked to some attorneys, and oh my gosh, it was so expensive just to, like, get started on anything. And the thing that people don't get to is, like, when you're married to an abuser, they also financially abuse you. So it's like, no, you're not gonna work, you know, and because they want to have you home, you know, with nothing. And then when you leave the marriage, they want you to leave with nothing. Like, you're not, you don't get, if you have 2 cars, or if they have 2 cars, you don't get either one of those. Like, he's gonna keep them both.
That's what kept me the first time I tried to leave. That car's in my name. You can't go anywhere. I'll report it as stolen.
There was a
time.
As
his hand was on the door. You can't go.
Oh my gosh.
You can't take my kids. They're very aware of what they're doing and how they do it, because it's, I don't know if you had this experience, but it's almost like they can explain everything to make you feel comfortable or fine with that. I think that's where a lot of people who have not been in these type of relationships or had experience with these type of people is, they're like, well, why would you do that? You can't possibly understand how smooth they operate to get you to these certain points where they really do just put you in a position where it's like, how did I end up here?
Because in the beginning, they love bomb you. They love bomb you, promise you this life, and then, you know, they give you a little taste, and then whenever they're good and ready, they show their true colors. And then you're so, you know, mentally just messed up that you're like, okay, I didn't sign up for this. And then they give you a little bit back, and then they take away. They give you, and then they take away, and then it just becomes like, that's how you create the trauma bond. The give and take, and then you become so addicted to it that it's like, there's these highs and lows, and every time you're low, you're like, okay, well, like, the high is coming, and you're just waiting for it. Like, they know what they're doing. They're very manipulative, and they're very good liars. It's so
Isn't
crazy.
it scary how good they are at that?
Also, they believe their own lies.
Yes.
That's the scary part. Like, you
actually believe that.
How many times did you sit in the mirror and tell yourself that to believe it? Like, that is crazy.
Yeah.
After the 6 months after I, found them, shit just got really ugly. I won't even go into all of that because that's just... During this time period, I was waiting for our court papers. Like, I never got served. Come to find out, whenever I did go down to the courthouse, and I was like, my ex-husband filed for divorce, and I haven't got served yet. Like, what's going on?
Yeah.
Well, I was so naive. He pretty much made it seem like, oh, it's going to be easy peasy. You sign this, like, and that's it. We're done. Well, again, I was 19 years old. We went to a notary and I signed off, and I'm thinking it's a divorce, right? So what I signed off on was pretty much not to be notified or served. He was very sneaky.
Yeah.
So what he was asking for was full custody, and that, I had every other weekend standard visitation or whatever. So when he filed, the judge would not accept it, which I'm thinking the judge was probably like, no, something's off here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, so whenever I went up to the courthouse and they're like, you signed a waiver of service. I was like, I signed, what does that mean? So they're telling me what it means, and I'm like, oh, can I unsign that?
Right, yeah. Let me take it back.
Yes. At this time, I had came back, like, I went to stay with mom for a little bit in Pennsylvania just because I had no support here, and I was losing my damn mind for those 6 months where I didn't know anything. Nobody was telling me anything.
Legally, you couldn't
do
anything.
First of all, even if you think about it, like, I didn't even know where to have him served.
Yeah.
I didn't know if he was even at the same job anymore or anything like that because of the moving, the changing of the phone number, like, all of those things.
Yeah.
And of course, like, I was not in like a good place with his family, so, there was just no way of me finding. It was just crazy.
Yeah.
But so when I got down here, when I came back down here, I flew. As soon as I found out where they were, like, I flew in. And like I said, that part got really ugly.
You were there to get your kids.
I was there to get my kids, and I did what I had to do. I will say I had a gun put to my face, but, I'm still here.
Yeah. Yeah. God is good.
So, yeah. He is. We went, did some temporary orders. His attorney, so I did not have an attorney. His attorney was very, like, intimidating. Like, I mean, that's his job. So he was just like, if you go in there and you tell the judge, everything that's happened, he's not going to believe you, yada, yada, yada. Again, I'm 19 years old. So, like, I'm sitting here believing this guy. Like, he's a lawyer. Like,
well, you've already been through so much stuff to that point. Also, why wouldn't you believe that?
Exactly. Well, not just that, but also it's like I was so drained. I was so exhausted. I was like, why? I don't want to fight. Like, I don't even want to fight. Like, I just want to see my babies, and that's it, and be done with it. Like, however we have to go about that. He wanted to do a temporary agreement that only lasted so long, and they would stay with him, and I would do standard visitation. And I was like, okay, that's fine. Like, obviously, I just got down here from Pennsylvania. I have to get settled. Like, so I had to look for a job. I had to do all that. Starting all over. Not just that, but also it was running through my mind that the kids have already been through so much shit.
Yeah.
They've already been through so much. Like, why would I take them out of this environment that they've been in for a little bit? So I was like, okay, temporary, fine. Like, I don't even want to fight with this guy. I'm done. Yeah. I don't want to fight with this attorney. I'm done. Like, and his attorney was really smooth. Like, he knew what he was doing, and he knew that, I was just, at that time, I was 19 years old, so he knew that. Like, he was just like, well, she's not, she's not, and also, like, it's just like, I just went through all this shit, so it's very vulnerable. Like, a lot of things happened after that. It wasn't even a year. Honestly, it wasn't even 6 months of the temporary orders. They didn't even last, like, because things happened. again, an abuser always abuses.
Yeah.
The only difference is if they lose their supply, they go find another one. Mm-hmm. So, and then eventually they'll abuse that supply, you know, after they've love bombed that supply and told them all these things and whatever, you know, like, then they'll slowly start to show their true colors and who they are. And so that's what happened. Like, he was abusive. I saw the police reports myself, and they were very brutal and ugly, and I just know what it is to be on that other side, that I felt sorry, you know, and I felt bad. Like, even though I tried to warn, I'm still human. Yeah. And knowing that I went through that too is like, I don't wish that on anybody. So he ended up actually going away. He went away for 9 months, but I mean, there was a lot more to why he went away. There was, you know, there was vandalism whenever I started dating. The stalking led to vandalism of, you know, the person I was dating, which is my husband now. And then the abuse. I mean, when you're already on probation and you break those, like, you break the rules, and then not only that, but you have a protection order, and that's also, you know, broken, like, that's very big. The way I thought about it was like, you took 6 months from me and the kids. But, like, look what happened. Like, you took 9 months from yourself. Yeah. Because of your selfishness. Yeah. And it's just wild. It's wild how life works.
Well, and I feel like it's very rare that narcissistic abuse survivors see any type of cycle of karma.
Right.
With their abuser.
Yeah.
And I know that is going to happen at some point, whether it's on this earth or in heaven. It's going to happen. It's just
a matter of
nice when it happens here.
Well, you know what's even nicer?
And sooner than later.
Yeah, what's even nicer is whenever you're given that, you know, popcorn and a chair to sit there and watch it all happen. And it's like, well, I didn't ask for that, but you did.
Right. Yep.
You know, so, I mean, that's what happened. And, you know, we were going to go back to court, never heard from his attorney. So I was like, you know what? I'm done waiting for this guy. Like, obviously, he's not my attorney. He's not going to reverse things for me. Like, you know.
He's not in your corner.
He's not in my corner. He's not representing me. If anything, when dude gets out, they're just going to act like nothing ever happened and then just snatch the babies away. You know what I mean? So, and that's exactly what the plan was.
So how long from the time you left him to the time that he went to prison then?
I want to say it was within a 2-year time frame.
Okay. So within 2 years of you leaving him.
Yeah, because the first year there was the criminal mischief, there was the stalking, and then new girlfriend, whatever, new supply, and then you know, pregnancy there, abuse there. And it's so crazy because I remember before he went in, he was just like, "Do you want the kids back?" And I was just like, they should have never been with you to begin with. Yeah. But the way he said it was just like they were puppies. Like, you know, and I was just like, first of all, they should have never been with you in the first place. Like, but yes, of course I do. Yeah. So, nothing ever got filed, and it was getting closer to, you know, whenever he got out. And so I was like, crap, like, still an attorney costs a lot of money. Like, and then, you know, I have the kids, and all the money was going towards, everything that I made was going towards the kids. And at this point, I did settle down with my husband now, and then we had our daughter. I decided, like, you know what, I'm just going to do this myself. Yeah. Like, I'm a very DIY person.
Same.
I am. If I know I can do it by myself, I'm going to do it. Yeah. I'm going to do it. So, you know, I sure did.
Figure it out.
Yep. I took my little butt down to that courthouse library, and I sat there 3 hours, almost 3 hours every day, just researching, learning legal terms, and I would ask the librarian, like, back then they didn't have the computers, because they have computers in there now, where you can find what you need to on Texas Law Help and then print it out and then use that. Okay,
Yeah.
no, back then they did not have that whenever I went. So when I asked the librarian, I was like, what, can you lead me into what I need to file? Like, help me figure it out. And she was like, I can only do so much. And I was like, well, what can you do?
Yeah.
So
help a girl out.
Yeah. So she showed me, they have different sections, different shelves, and they had the family law shelf, and she told me this is the book you want to look under chapter so and so. I was just like, okay.
Yeah. Give it to me. I'll take it.
I was okay, I will learn, So, I found the document I needed, and I showed her, and she was like, okay, I think that's the one, but she could never give me a yes or no. They're not allowed to do that technically.
Yeah.
I did a little bit of research, and then I learned that it was actually the motion to modify order. I did not have a blank document. I typed this shit up from beginning to end. All of the way. I sat there for hours typing it up, rereading it, numerous times to make sure everything that I put in there was correct. It was typed right. There was no error in the spelling, nothing like that.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, I'm going to do this.
Yeah.
And I filed it, and I had them served. We had a court order after I served him. I want to say maybe two weeks later after I served him. Oh, he was livid. He was livid. I knew because he had just got out, and I got all the messages, girl. I was like, oh, he mad.
Yeah.
Reading paragraphs and paragraphs, and I was like, oh, okay, well, what else you got? That's literally what I said. What else you got? And I was just like, you can sit here and tell me these things all day because you're not hurting me.
Yeah.
You're not hurting me. I know that's your goal, but you're not hurting me. At the end of the day, you're hurting the kids. You're not hurting me. I remember that morning. I remember throwing up. And I was like, oh my goodness, I just never saw myself being in this position. Even thinking about it right now.
Yeah.
I can just remember all of those feelings come rushing back. Of being afraid. Or being like, oh my gosh, I have to face this attorney again. You know? And it's he was already intimidating the first time. So now I'm like, okay. I'm mentally preparing myself for every little detail. Yeah. But I will say, before our court date, I collected everything. I'm talking about, I went through the sheriff's department. I got all of the incident reports, and I read through them. The domestic violence, I read through that incident report, and it was just, it made me nauseous. Yeah, it made me nauseous just because the kids were there too, and I hated that they even had to see that. Because that was the whole purpose of me leaving that marriage, was so that they did not have to see any of the abuse. So it was frustrating, but I collected that in my evidence. I showed the stability, how the kids had their own rooms. They had insurance. I'm the one that put them in school. I knew their doctor's name. I know for a fact he didn't.
Right, yeah.
Didn't even know their shoe size. None of that. So, I put all that into the exhibits, which is evidence whenever you go into that courtroom. It's always best to keep a diary of what's exactly happened with dates, times, everything, screenshots. I mean,
girl, the receipts.
Oh my gosh, you need those receipts. Anything of harassment. I mean, you need all of it. Yeah. So I had all of that stuff, and I remember going to the courtroom, and so they have the waiting area in the outside, and I remember seeing that person and seeing the person that put the restraining order, protective order on him. I remember seeing her also there. I remember seeing an attorney, and I was just like, oh Lord.
It was the same one.
Same attorney.
Well, that's kind of triggering too, because of everything you went through the first time dealing with this person, and then...
So the funny thing though is that when him and I since I was doing pro se and representing myself, he's like, well, we need to meet in the room, like mediation, whatever. Mm-hmm. So I met him in one of the little rooms and we were talking, and I remember him telling me almost the same thing, like, well, they're not going to believe you. And I swear to you, the second time, the way that shit lit a fire under my ass, I was like, oh, well, first time, honey, I wasn't prepared. Mm-hmm. And I didn't know anything. Yeah. And I was very vulnerable. Mm-hmm. Second time, I am prepared. Mm-hmm. You don't even know. Like, I am so ready for this. Like, the fact that you said that, mm-hmm. like, that just helped me. Yeah. And I remember just looking at him, and I said, oh, yeah? That's what you think? And I walked right out of that room. I did not even give him a word.
Well, and then too, it's almost like he thought he was talking to the same person he talked to before. Mm-hmm. But then for you to look at him and be like, I'm not that person anymore. No. You can't convince me.
Yeah. Convince me. Like, you're not going to scare me this time, honey. Yeah. No. Yeah. So I remember just walking away from him, and like I just walked right into that courtroom. Like
you were ready. You were ready.
I walked in there like, you want to see a bitch? I'm gonna but I was like, I'm gonna show you one. Like, okay. Yeah. So except you know what? I'm not just a regular one. I'm a smart one. Yeah. I'm a smart one. So you don't fucked up. Sorry. Yeah. Yeah. So, especially when it comes to my babies, like...
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh.
Baby, I done got real smart. Real smart. Yeah. Y'all done fucked with the wrong one.
But you have to. You know what I mean? You reach a point where it is, like, you can't play around with it at all. No. You know? No.
And I think that was my first mistake, was giving the benefit of the doubt. Like, he's not going to be this person. Like, we're going to... Yeah. Be able to co-parent very nicely, and oh my God. Yeah. And after that happened, I was like, okay, you ain't never getting the benefit of the doubt for me ever again. And, from now on, it's strictly business, baby. That's it. Yep. And so, when I walked into that courtroom, like, this is where I learned more of, like, legal language terms. Mm-hmm. So, like, the judge, he requested my exhibits. They were on one side, I was on one side, and he requested my exhibits or any of their exhibits. Okay, so I learned that when you do pro se, you have to make double the copies, because your exhibits also go to the other, the petitioner, whoever's,
the other party.
Their party, their attorney. Their attorney needs the exhibits that you have, which I'm like, why would I give them my proof? Right. I'm just giving them mine. Like, I'm just giving them time to prepare. Yeah. But okay, so apparently you are supposed to do that, and I didn't know that. So I figured that out, and then he called us both up, give us about 10-15 minutes to kind of give our side of what's been happening. And this time, I shit you not, I told him everything. Yeah. Everything. From the start to where we're at now. Yeah. Like, and I left out nothing. Yeah. Nothing at all. Like. Yeah. And so, and I was right, because they were trying to make
So the judge will give you that space to do it uninterrupted.
Yes. He gives you that time when you're up there to, like, he'll just be like, pretty much like, what's been going on? Yeah. Like, give your side. Let me know. He wants to hear both sides. And then, afterwards they cross-examined. So his attorney cross-examined me. Mm-hmm. And then when I got off the stand, the judge was like, oh, it's your turn. And I was like, my turn? He's like, yeah, you get to cross-examine. Also, I was like, bet. Bet. Okay.
I've been waiting for this day.
This is beautiful. Like, if I could have only recorded that. Yeah. I mean, like...
That's a relivable moment.
Yes. I honestly prayed like so hard, because I was like, what am I gonna ask? Yeah.
Where do you
like
start?
I want to show that this person, he's high conflict. There's no co-parenting with this person. Yeah. Like, I was the one co-parenting for him with, the one that he abused for a little bit there. Yeah. because there was a protection order. So it's like, that's where I started.
Yeah.
I was pretty much, I just jumped into that, and like, because I knew that he was going to try and lie about going off to prison or any of the abuse or the criminal mischief. Yeah. Like, I knew he was going to just try to do that. So pretty much what I did is I made him tell on himself, and
which is that's so embarrassing.
It was embarrassing for him, but rewarding for me.
Oh yeah, no, for sure.
Very rewarding for me. The judge was like, I'll be back in 15 minutes. Like, I'm gonna go back and see if everything you are saying is legit. Yeah. And I was like, bet, because I know I ain't lying. Go fact check.
Yep. So,
he did, and then he comes out and he gave me full custody. And, he got standard and his little child support, whatever he had to pay. And I was so just taken back. Like, I was in disbelief of like, I really fought this. Yeah. I really won. Yeah. I really proved what I needed to prove in order for me to win. And it wasn't just me at that time winning. Like, it was my kids winning also. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I was fighting for them. Kids. Yeah, like, I was fighting for them because this is essentially what they wanted, was to be back home. Yeah. And so, what kind of mother would I have been not to put my all into that fight? Yeah. Like, literally, I put everything, every ounce of my soul. Like, I had sleepless nights, like, studying in that law library, like, whew, girl. Yeah. I put everything of me into going in there and fighting. And it's funny now I think about it, because I did it then, and then I ended up doing it again. Yeah. But this last time when I did it, was my last fight. And it's beautiful to think about, knowing that I got through it, and that we, not just me, we no longer have to deal with all of that, or with those people, or
you like finished that circle, like you went all the way around.
Yeah, because the abuse, to be honest, like, the abuse did not stop. Yeah, it didn't stop. If anything, it got worse. It got worse. It went from trying to hurt me to now, oh, well, I can't hurt her. How am I going to hurt her? There was the, have you heard of abuse by proxy? Mm-hmm. Okay, there was abuse by proxy, which is like whenever the abuser has someone else do their dirty work and abuse for them. Yep. So, I mean, essentially in that case, it was that person's spouse that was helping him or whatever. Yep. He kept his hands clean. So she is doing it and trying to hurt me in every single way. Yep. And a big part of it was using the kids still. Like, obviously they couldn't take them because I had custody. Yeah. But it was more of emotional, mental, that type of thing. So
everything they do is manipulation, whether it's manipulating other people against you or manipulating situations. Or
they start their smear campaigns. They get their little flying monkeys. Like, if they cannot control, you anymore, they're trying to control what other people think about you, how other people think about you, and they will make up rumors. They will. That's what the smear campaign is. They're just collecting their people to hate you. You got a whole fan base at this point. Numerous people checking your pages, like watching your every move, and they become so what would you say it was called? Like hyperfixation. Yeah, like they become so just like, what are they doing today? Or like, and then especially like whenever they get their new supply, because they talk about you so much and they're so obsessive, the new supply starts to feel like, well, why are they so obsessed? So then they become obsessed without even realizing that they're, and then there's a triangulation that starts. And I learned the hard way that the only way for the triangulation to stop is if you figure out what's going on and slowly, quietly, gracefully exit. Yeah. And then let them just, whatever they want to say, whatever they want to do, they could do that. But you have to gracefully just exit and realize that it's never going to end.
Yeah.
Unless,
yes.
Yep. Unless you stop feeding into it.
Yes.
You have to,
yep.
When it comes to narcissistic people and then other little flying monkeys, you have to starve them. You cannot give them an ounce of emotion because, oh my gosh, they feed on that shit.
But well, it's like a fire. Once you remove the oxygen, that fire will go out. That's it can't. There's no amount of rekindling it. That's it. It's dead.
That's what made me go into the law field. After knowing that, like, I face an attorney.
Yeah.
Like, I be an attorney.
Yeah.
Like, I had all this stuff together. I did what I needed to do. I studied what I needed to study. Yeah. Like, I picked up all these legal terms fairly quickly. After learning all of this and just, like... And I think it has a lot to do with, like, in that marriage, I did not know what I was capable of.
Yeah.
So when I left, I was
well, they make you think you're not capable of anything.
Yeah. So when I left, you know, I found myself. Like, because I had dropped out of high school when I had my son. I was a sophomore going into junior year. And so I was supposed to be a junior. I dropped out to take care of my son because I didn't want anyone to take care of my son. I felt like that was my responsibility. And I don't know, like, I just didn't want anyone watching him. Yeah. And so, also in my mind, I was like, oh, this marriage is going to last forever. I was so...
My one true love.
Girl, I was so delusional. After, you know, everything, I started to find myself. I got my GED. I put myself through college. Like, and that's why I was like, I am capable of so much more than I think I am. Yeah. And as soon as I started figuring out, like, I can do this. Yeah. Like, I can do these hard things and, like, I'm more than capable of even more. I know that I'm capable of more. Yeah. So, I mean, it's just a matter of, you know, setting my mind to things and
yeah. And then, too, like, you're not going to be a victim. Mm-mm. You know what I mean?
Right. Forever a survivor.
Yep.
That I am, though. But after that, I was like, you know, I'm going to put myself through and learn. And the first year was hard for me because I lost my grandma and I lost my best friend. Like, I remember, like, crying, like, because I had an exam one of the days and I was helping take care of my grandma. Yeah. And she had cancer. And so I would go help take care of her, like, whatever my mom needed. If she needed help, I would go. And I was just so stressed out. And then at that time, I was also dealing with more court shit with these people. There was still the abuse going on. Except this time, it was more to the kids. Yeah. But I remember sitting there, and I was like, oh, my gosh, I have an exam today. And I was about to take it. And I got a 0. And I remember I broke down, like... Because anything I put my mind to, like, I really go full force. Yeah. Like, so, I was just a hot mess. And then, you know, the second year, I went all the way. Like, I was on the dean's list. I graduated with A's and B's.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
I was very, very proud, you know. And, and my
as
kids,
you should be.
My kids got to see me walk stage. Not gonna cry.
But it's a lot.
It was a lot. It was.
And it's a hard journey.
It was really hard.
You know, it takes a lot out of you.
It was very hard, and these are more happy tears because, like, I really got through it. Yeah. And there was times where I didn't feel like I was. Yeah. Like, I didn't feel like I was gonna get through it. There was times I didn't even want to, like, exist. Like, it was just so draining, so exhausting. Like, but, you know, I did. I got through it, and I remember when I graduated, I was so happy. You know, after I got my paralegal, I was like, okay, what do I do now? Yeah. What do I do now? So, right now, I actually work at Rays of Hope. Where I took my kids when they were younger, when all this stuff was going on. I get to teach kids how to cope. It's very healing. Like, yes. It's like sure. I help them learn how to heal, but they also help me heal at the same time. Yeah. Like when I'm teaching them. And everything I teach them, you know, I've taught my kids. And then my kids were there at one point also. So that's what I'm doing right now. Like, and I love what I do.
That's beautiful. That's so amazing to advocate and be there for kids like that after watching your kids go through the same thing.
Yeah, like, and that's the thing. I never want kids to feel alone.
Yeah.
You know, like they don't have anyone to talk to about, because the kids that we see, they either have gone like through a death or through a divorce, separation, or they're a family member's incarcerated, foster care. Like, those are all the kids that we see at work. What I'm trying to do right now, and like, I feel like I have so many jobs, so many titles. So it's like, what I want to do is I'm trying to build my web page to where something that I've always wanted to do is help moms specifically. Like, if like, I've also helped dads.
Yeah.
I have helped dads. Like, I've had dads ask me, like, how do I go about this? The reason why I put myself through school was because I actually wanted to help moms that were low income or leaving a divorce, you know, were financially abused, didn't have a job because they weren't allowed to, and then they're leaving this marriage and they have nothing, they're afraid, or they feel like they don't know what to file, what to do. Like, I mean, first of all, when you're making the decision of getting a divorce, that's a big decision in itself, you know what I mean? So it's like, okay, what now? What step now? Like, what am I supposed to file? Like, I don't even know what these words mean. Like, can somebody help me? And then just to go to an attorney, it's like you have to pay sometimes, like, just for the consultation in itself. So, and I know as a single mom at one point, like, I don't want to put that money towards that when they need this. They need these things that I need to be putting that money towards them. So I've had at least since, you know, all the bullshit, since I put myself through school, graduated, since the termination of rights, since adoption, I have had a boatload of women that have reached out to me, a handful of men, but more a boatload of women that are leaving and they don't know, you know, what to file, or I've literally read over documents for them and helped them figure out what it means, or like told them, okay, so if you're going to file this needs to go here, that needs to go there, you know, this legal term means this, you know, if you're low income, you're going to go file it, you want to go up there, and they have a form for you where you don't have to pay to serve them, like they will serve them for you. There's just a lot of stuff. So the
fact that there's so much around the court system when it comes to family court, that there's such little information to help. And I've seen it so many times where people are like, oh, you can just like ask for legal assistance or whatever. It's not that easy. And they're so overwhelmed that you could look at waiting anywhere from like 6 months to a year before you would even get assistance. And when moms are leaving an abusive relationship, and they literally are just like, I just need to get out, I'll figure everything else out after that, where you're literally leaving with like the clothes on your back type situation, then to have to revisit the whole custody and divorce, if that's applicable or whatever. That's so overwhelming, and there's so little resources out there. What are you supposed to do? And like you said, you can't afford to even a consultation, which what exactly are you? There's only so much you can get out of a consultation, really, you know what I mean? And so what are you supposed to do?
I left
so little help.
I did leave that out, and I probably should mention that when I was going through my situation, I went to about 5 attorneys. I went through to 5 attorneys. I got consults from all of them. And
those consultations are anywhere from $150 to $300.
Some of them there's some that are free, but majority of them, they do cost something. But what I did was I took notes. So I asked, you know, in my situation, what should I do? What can I do? And anything that they told me, I took notes. So whenever I did do pro se, I knew what to fight for or what to say. And I was like, okay, well, they have the knowledge, you know.
Yeah.
I want to know.
Yeah.
What do I need to do? What do I need to be looking out for? Yeah. But
which, by the way, when you have a consultation with a lawyer, it makes that lawyer no longer available to the opposing party.
That's right. That is right.
And somebody had told me that. They're like, I don't give a shit if you don't hire an attorney. Go to as many attorneys as you can afford to for a consultation.
Yep.
So that the opposing person cannot use them as an attorney.
That is right.
Because so one of these last times I had a consultation, I went to like one of the top people.
Yeah, because
in
then
the area.
It becomes conflict of interest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Conflict of interest. So, they can't hire them.
Yeah.
Just because you had a consultation.
Yep.
So just putting that out there.
And because they know your side.
Right. Yep.
So.
Yeah.
So yeah.
They will become unhireable.
That is true. Good point. Yeah.
You were talking about that and I was like, that actually is a good thing because I don't know if you knew that at that time or not.
No, I didn't. At that time, I didn't. I was just trying to get all the knowledge.
All the information.
Yeah.
But no, that made me think about that. I was like.
So for now, that's what I want. You know, that's why I went into, you know, I put myself through school, learned everything that I learned because I do want to help others. Well, I don't ever want anyone to feel alone like I did in that moment.
Right. Well, and I think it does. When you have an experience like yours, it completely shifts your perspective and view and compassion towards other women or people going through that situation because you feel so alone. And I know I felt so scared.
Well, when you know, and when you're dealing with
these are your kids you're talking about, you know what I mean? Like, this isn't something to play about or take lightly or whatever. Like, this is so serious and it's like so much pressure. Like,
that's my goal right now is to, you know, create that little webpage and essentially I just want to be able to, you know, if they need something drafted, draft it for them. They need explanation in legal terms. Explain that to them. I don't feel myself moving from a family law either, just because that's where I feel like I've learned so much. Yeah. You know what I mean? So yeah, I could easily like go into a different part or area as a freelance. You can, because usually you're working. Paralegals work under an attorney, but when you become a freelance, you're working for yourself. Yeah. Whether it's for a woman going through that or a man, because I have had, you know, men like especially when they have high conflict co-parents.
Well, and women aren't the only ones.
No, they're not.
I have seen abusive relationships and sometimes it's kind of hard for me because it is triggering because in our situations we were dealing with a man being abusive and so the thought of a man saying he's having issues, you know what I mean? Yes. Me personally, I'm always kind of like,
red flag, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe. I really need to know more. Tell me more.
Right. Yeah. Explain yourself. But it is a thing, and I think it is kind of hard because a majority of people who deal with abusers are women. There is kind of a stigma around a dad saying, I'm dealing with an abusive co-parent.
The reason that they attract an abuser is most of the time because they were raised by one. Whether it's their father or their mother. Yep. And they attract it because it's normal. In their eyes in the beginning, all the little red flags, you don't see them because
preconditioned.
Yeah, they're preconditioned from kids, you know, to teens, to adults. There's, you know, if you have an abusive dad and your mom stays with him like from teenage years, more than likely, if you're a woman, you're going to end up with an abusive man too. Subconsciously. You know what I mean? Like, you're not even
you don't even realize it.
Yeah. You don't even realize it.
It's not like you set out and you're like, I'm going to get me an abusive partner. Like, the dream come true.
In fact, you might say the opposite. I'll never be with a man like that. And then, all of a sudden, you know, but then again, narcs are really good at love bombing. So, at the beginning, you don't see them for who they really are, of course. Like, they give you this facade. And
They sell you on a dream for sure.
Yeah, they do. And then, sure. After a while when they get comfortable, then they show you who they really are. Mm-hmm. And it's like, but when you marry one, it's like, oh my gosh. Like, now it's so much more than just breaking up. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. Oh, yeah. It's not quite that simple.
It's not. I've talked to men that also, end up with abusers, narcissistic women. Some of them are physically abusive, but majority are mentally, emotionally abusive. I mean, they berate their partner. They belittle them. Like, yes. So, and I've seen that. So there is, there is narcissistic men and narcissistic women. Sometimes these narcissistic men end up with a woman just like their mother. They do. And you know what that is? That is their karma. And it's beautiful to watch.
Yeah. Yeah.
I feel like, men that are raised in that same type of household, they either become the abuser or they're abused. One or the other. But it's like, until you wake up and figure out, like, okay, like, do I have childhood trauma? Do I have a narcissistic parent? Yeah. And there's so much more, like I was about to say, it goes into narcissistic, that word. Like, this generation just throws it around, but there is, like, more than one type. And I feel like people don't actually do their research on that.
Yeah.
Like,
there's so much that goes into it, for sure. There is a difference between a toxic person and a narcissist.
Well, also, the thing is that I've learned is that when you grow up in a household with someone that has toxic traits, or probably is, narcissist, one of the 3 or 4, whatever. There's a few types of them, but they're clinically, like, mentally, like, checked out. They're very ill.
Yes.
And so when you grow up in that type of household, what can happen is you pick up narc fleas. That's what they're called, narcissistic fleas. So you just pick up their traits, their habits. The difference between a true narcissist and someone that is not one, like, truly not mentally ill, is that a person who has narc fleas can be like, okay, this is not okay.
Yeah.
Like, I need to change some of these things. Like, I've picked up some of these habits, some of these traits, and they're going to make the change.
Right.
Where, as a narcissistic person that is mentally ill, they will not see anything wrong with who that they are, and they will not change.
Yeah.
Because they don't ever. Because till they die, there is nothing wrong with them. I'm talking about, they could go see a therapist, and a therapist could tell them, like, we need to make these changes. And they would be like, I don't need a change for nobody. Yeah. Like, there's nothing wrong with me. Like, it's maybe you need to go back to school. Exactly.
It's not me, it's you.
Exactly. That's how they are. Like, there's, like, you could, it's like talking to a wall. They're never going to change. They never see anything wrong with their actions. They don't take accountability.
Even if they do get to a point where the words come out of their mouth where it's like, I'm wrong or I messed up, it is a manipulation tactic. They don't actually believe, or they are not actually admitting that they did something wrong.
Right.
They're telling you what you need to hear or want to hear.
Right.
So that they can continue the cycle of abuse and manipulation. And it's not ever genuine, and nothing actually does change, and it's just a cycle.
And if they do, I feel like if they do change, it's like a week.
It's temporary.
It's very temporary. Yeah. And then they go right back to what they were doing.
Yeah.
And
they're
the cycle of abuse.
Incapable.
Exactly. And you're right. The cycle of abuse just keeps going and going and going until you finally figure it out and are like, okay, I'm done. Like, I'm for real. Done.
They say most people do not realize that they are dealing with a narcissist until they are well into their, like, 40s or 50s.
Dude,
that's how old my mom was when she figured it out for herself.
No lie. I know that there's a lot of women that stay married for so long in that cycle of abuse, and they're like, they've wasted so many of their years with this person. They finally figure it out, and And a lot of them are afraid to leave because it's like, damn, I've already lost 20 years.
Yeah.
Like, what am I getting out of leaving?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
it's going to be hard to date. Like, I can just, I know.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
My mom was almost 40 when she left my dad.
Gosh. And it's like a whole new chapter.
She had 8 kids.
Girl. Well, I mean, back in the day, too, it's like...
She stayed for the kids.
Yeah.
For sure.
That's what I was about to say. Like, that, and
she
then
grew up with very
also,
traditional parents.
Yeah, and then back in the day, you know, mental health, anything surrounding mental health, it's not talked about. It wasn't.
There's a reason why they sent women to the asylums.
Oh, I know.
They had a whole thought process about that.
Not only that, but that's where the term gaslighting comes from.
Really?
Yes. If you, like, really search it up, like, this man was, like, lying to his wife to make her... She was going to leave him. Make her feel crazy. He sent her to a mental institute from his line. It has some shit to do with gas. That's what I know.
know that. That's so crazy. So, I'm totally gonna look this whole story up.
I want to look it up. I want to reread it, but I do know that that's what it had
crazy.
To do with. So that's where the term gaslighting came from.
I mean, that makes complete sense, though. Like,
I'm gonna be here older. I don't know if I can find it, but definitely look up where the term came from.
Yeah,
like,
no, I'm definitely gonna do that.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I did not know that. I thought it was just
it says something about how he made her feel so crazy and sent her away.
Yeah.
And kept the kids.
She probably committed herself. I've lost it. Because that's how it feels. Yeah, I'm losing my mind.
Yeah, because that's what they want. Like,
yeah.
They want you to lose.
Well, because if you're confused, you have no clarity to figure out their shit. So
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know what's even crazier is, like, when you're with them for so long, even after you leave, you gaslight yourself. Mm-hmm. Because they have done it to you for years. Now you're questioning your own thought process.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Am I wrong for doing this?
Yeah.
Like,
did this actually happen?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Girl, you know how
bad
it
hard
got?
to make
choices. I started to write things, like, in the journal to remember.
Yeah.
Like, oh, this happened at so and so time. Because I remember being in that marriage, being like, oh, I don't remember that. When did that happen? Yeah. Bitch, I'm gonna start writing.
Yeah. I mean, but
the date, the
really
time,
do?
like, because you try to make
mine
me feel
would
like I'm crazy,
explain
and I'm
stuff
not.
away. His was more. There was a lot of denial, but he did a lot of the. Well, it wasn't actually like how you thought it was. It was actually like, this is what was going on.
Oh, okay. Interesting. Yeah. Well, they all have different tactics.
Yep.
But
it's all rooted in the same thing.
Yeah, I was going to say,
there's a reason why narcissism is under the psychopathic category of, like, diagnosis. Like, this is in line with a psychopath. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I was going to say sociopath, but I think they're all together. Mm-hmm. Psychopath, sociopath. There's a reason why it's all in that line category with that, because it is literally so demented, like the extent and level that they go.